Very warm welcome. Good afternoon, it's Gene from maverickstar. Accompany me, guys, while we see the decline of humanity just plummet to new low levels. And I know that some people are going to see this in a different light to me, but the difference between a barbaric world and a humane world is almost the same as, a heaven and a hell. Okay, obviously you already can get a glimpse of where this is going. We're looking at these 4 terrorists that have committed a barbaric act of murdering in cold blood 130 people. And I know what you're thinking. I'm going to be talking about the way they've been treated in, the Russian hospitality suite, let's say. Obviously you can see one of them is unconscious, wheeled into court, and one of them has lost his eyeball. The other one has had his ear cut off and been fed to him, and the knife that cut it off has been auctioned, and the other one has almost developed elephantitis to the one side of his face. And I'll just say right here now that this is torture. And I'll also mention this: one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. Doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on. If you have a son or a daughter that is engaged in battle, you would hope that if they were captured, they would be treated in a humane and legal way. Again, look at what we're witnessing with the justice system in different countries. The other day I done a video talking about how Julian Assange was imprisoned in Belmarsh for 5 years without being convicted. Then we saw how Donald Trump, like him or not, I ain't bothered. I'm just, in the point to the justice system, which is collapsing. Attitude that you should be concerned with. Because I'm just going to say this: how would you like your child, if they worked in the armed forces, to be treated in such a manner as this? How horrified would you be to know that, they'd done the act to start with, and then they'd been caught but treated in an unjust way such as this, to have their ear roll cut off and fed into their mouth, to have their genitals attached to electrodes and 80 amps passed through them, to be beaten so bad your eyeball pops out. The British Armed Forces, the American United States Armed Forces, the European Armed Forces, the Australian Armed Forces should be concerned about this, because if we are going to accept this behaviour of captured criminals and medieval torture is the only way to explain it, then that something is changing within our society. We are humane actions to keep us in line to this point, and now we're going to go back to barbaric animalism and accept that. I'm sorry, I know they've done wrong, but they should be, if there is a death penalty in that country, maybe they should face it in a way that we do not respond in actions that reflect their own actions. We don't have to behave like these horrible men, is what I'm saying, but we don't need to see this. This is a deterioration of humane treatment, and we're supposed to be the better people that don't do this, regardless of what person's actions are. One of the presidents in the history dropped a bomb on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, burning the skin off of children, of men and women of all ages. Didn't serve a minute in this sort of treatment for that, killing tens and tens of thousands of people. That's why I say one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. It just depends on which side you're on. I do not sympathise with the actions of ISIS. But these 4 individuals were obviously put up to it, probably because they were poor, had no money. They obviously had no lack of empathy for human life. And, by all means, they should face, maybe a death penalty. But to torture a human being is acting in exactly the same manner as which these horrible men acted. And for us to behave like that means that we are lowering ourselves down to their level. If we are to maintain our principles, we have to also, put aside what we would really like to do and act in a humane and respectful manner, as we would expect any of our children that were serving in the armed forces to be treated, regardless. Can you imagine your son on TV that fought in the Iraq war, been caught, having his ear chopped off and being fed to him? Can you imagine a trial where your son has fought in a war, been caught and being wheeled into a courtroom unconscious? How can you defend yourself? How can you give any account for your actions in that condition? I'm going to be with you guys, because what we're witnessing right now is a severe downturn in human behaviour, and this gets out of control at some point, and I want to witness it with you. So stay tuned, because we are going to watch this go down together. We're not just seeing this confined to one country. Like I said, Julian Assange is in Belmarsh right now, not convicted of any crime, but imprisoned. That's not how the justice system works in our country, or supposed to not to. But I said there are dark forces out there which we need to wake up to, that are bringing about this horrid behaviour, which is destroying everything around us bit by bit. It is a decaying cancer that needs to be cut out of our system instantly before it gets to a point where it's out of control. And right now we are heading fastly into that point where it's getting out of control. Donald Trump, excessive bail bond fees. Putting someone like Julian Assange in Belmarsh with murderers, proliferators of law of all kinds, a normally law-abiding citizen who was a reporter going about his business, doing normal business, reporting. But because he reported on something that hit a nerve with these dark forces, they turned against him to the point where they tried to kidnap him and murder him, assassinate him. And the people that did it were part of the American government and branches of the CIA, one of the directors. My goodness me. I want to accompany you on this ride down to the bottom depths of where this is going. So stay tuned. Guys, I mentioned the other day in the description and in the link in the comment section that there'd be an opportunity for you to join us so that we can keep relaying the Pole Shift news to you. If you joined for just $5 a month and become one of our patrons, if you really care about anything that's going on, there'd be no hesitation, because $5 don't buy you even a decent cup of coffee these days. You know it. I'm a little bit disappointed in that. Because when I think back about spending 2 years building the Trimax system, programming it so that we could locate the magnetic North Pole, I thought it was a well worth course and that people were behind me. But we have 60,000 subscribers and 171 are over there on Patreon supporting us. I'll say what I usually do. As always, bye for now.